Some of the signs that you could be heading into a high conflict divorce are um, highly contested custody issues where you have two good parents and they both want to be the primary conservators for the children. In that case, it's a really hard thing to determine which parent should be the primary conservator, and normally the courts decide what's in the best interest of the children. Another thing that we see that is highly contested is separate versus community property issues, where one spouse may have owned separate property before divorce. It may have been commingled with the community property. What that means is you have an account where you had money in, or you had a property before the marriage. You sold that property, you bought another property, and you continue to put your earnings into that. That complicates a divorce. It's contested because a lot of times the parties have a hard time deciding what is community property and what is separate property. And that's something that the attorneys can trace and they can account for at the end of the day. Another sign of a high conflict divorce is when a spouse is very difficult. They don't agree on anything. They don't listen to their attorneys, and they don't care what's in the best interest of their children or their spouse. These are usually the top things that I can identify that cause high conflict divorces. Some of the strategies that I use to resolve high conflict cases is, number one, a lot of times the communication we tend to keep amongst the attorneys. And so when you're going through a hard time or it's a high conflict divorce, it may be better to not directly communicate with your spouse. Keep it through your attorneys. If you're communicating about children, you still do need a co-parent, but we like to use parenting apps for those so that people are not being rude to one another or causing conflicts when they don't need to. Another strategy that I would use in a high conflict divorce is trying to go to mediation and resolve, if not all of the issues, some of the issues in mediation, so that at the end of the day, we have some issues resolved, some may not be. In a high conflict divorce with children, typically, I would suggest that the parents have a plan for the children, that they have a strict schedule, that they follow that strict schedule. And so that way they're not fighting over the children or fighting over time with the children. They know where the kids need to be at a certain time and how to get them there. Management strategies for a high conflict divorce where I have a difficult client is talking to them, managing their expectations, shutting them down when they're wrong, kind of guiding them through the divorce process and managing their emotions and their expectations so that they know what they're getting themselves into. Another tactic that I've tried in the past is not having those clients speak to one another, maybe just communicating through attorneys for the time being until we can get to a resolution. When you have a high conflict divorce with children, it is very harmful to the kids. Most family attorneys will tell you, and most family judges will tell you, mediators will tell you that getting the kids involved is very harmful to them. It's not good for their emotional state. A divorce is hard enough for kids to go through, for seeing their families being torn apart, seeing their parents separated. And so not getting the kids involved, just always keeping the best interest of the children at heart is the best way to deal with that. If you think you're heading into a high conflict divorce, call us at the Bayley Law Firm. We're happy to help.